We are now looking at some more about box and whisker graphs. Since we have a box and whisker graph, just like yesterday, the first thing that was said to do was to label the graph. So I'm going to do that. And so looking at the top of the notes, the first thing it says is the range. Now that was gone over last week, but the range is the distance between the max and the minimum, which the other day it was the highest number and the lowest number. They mean the same thing. Now we have a different kind of range. It's called the interquartile range. So this one is the distance between the upper and the lower quartiles. You can think of interquartile as in like within the quartiles of the graph. If you notice, a box and whisker graph is broken up into 4 parts. I broke it up so you can see the 4 different parts. Continuing with the notes, it says each section on the box and whisker graph represents blank % of the data. Well, if you think about it, a box and whisker graph as a whole represents 100%. And if it's broken up into 4 parts, that would mean that each part of the box and whisker represents 25% of the data. Now, before I move on to my questions, I want to make a couple more notes on the box and whisker as far as what the range is and the interquartile range. So the range is the distance between the max and the min. And the interquartile range is the distance between the upper quartile and the lower quartile, or Q3 and Q1. Okay, now that I got all these notes down on my paper, I'm going to go ahead and answer the questions. Number 1, what is the minimum value? Well, I see where the min is, but there's not a number there. Hopefully you know between 40 and 50 would be 45. Number 2, what is the maximum value? So again, when I look at the max, it's between 70 and 80, so then that would give me 75 for my maximum value. Number 3, what is the spread? Remember, the spread is the same thing as the range. So let's see, the range is going to be 75 minus 45. That would give us a spread or a range of 30. Number 4, what is the median? Median is the middle. So if we look at the middle, that would be our Q2, which would be 60. Number 5, what is the first quartile? That would be in between 50 and 60, so that would be 55. Number 6, what is the second quartile? Second quartile is 60. Yes, that's repeating question number 4, but it's asking it with different vocabulary. Number 7, what is the third quartile? Third quartile is between 60 and 70, so that would be 65. What is the upper quartile? Well, the upper quartile is the same thing as Q3, so that also is 65. Number 9, what is the lower quartile? The lower quartile is the same thing as Q1, which is between 50 and 60, so that would be 55. Number 10, what is the interquartile range? Well, the interquartile range is the distance between the upper and the lower quartiles, or Q3 minus Q1. So 65 minus 55 would give you an interquartile range of 10. Last question, what % of the data is between 45 and 55? Well, from 45 to 55, if you look above, is only one piece of the 4 parts of the box and whisker graph. Then since it is only one part, that would mean that the % between 45 and 55 is 25%. After this, there's a whole nother example for the box and whisker questions. If you would like to give them a try, just pause the worksheet, write it down on a piece of paper, and then check with my answers. I do hope you're getting something out of the videos that I'm making, but if you're not, just please email me and let me know what your specific questions are, and I'll be glad to help you. So here are the questions for you to try on your own. So there are the answers for these 12 questions, but I highlighted two problems, number 11 and 12. So number 11, that's always been the tricky one. Which direction is it skewed? It's to the right because if you look at the data, the majority of the information is on the left side, so the skewed information is opposite of where your data is, so it's to the right. And I highlighted number 12 because it says what percent of the data is between 59 and 70. So 59 is here and 70 is way at the end. So that makes it 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces out of the 4 parts of the box and whisker. So that's why it's 75%, since each part is 25%. Hope you got 100 on this, but if not, no biggie. Hopefully you figured out what went wrong, so you can keep that in mind for when you do the assignment.